The Once and Future Nerd. Book 1. Princes of Jordan. Chapter 5. The Worthiest Knight. Episode 1. King Gunther's body floated to the center of a small, tranquil lake. Brennen stood and watched as his king, his friend, began his final journey to a watery rest, to reside for eternity in Selbrinn. The morning was silent, save for the crackling flames of the king's pyre barge. A man of Gunther Gwernatal's status deserved an elaborate barge, painted and carved. He deserved to be sent off directly into the sea of the ancestors, attended by dignitaries from all corners of the world. Instead, he was attended only by Brennen and Regan, on what might generously be called a raft. The silence stretched on.
I was hoping some fitting words would come to me. Gunther was so good with words.
Sometimes there aren't any good words. That's why they invented steel. Brennen, not to be heartless, but...
You're right. We should move.
With a final look towards the king, Brennen rose and turned. The two strode away in silence for a few moments.
That reminds me. What have you named them?
Depends on whether I'm with a man or a woman, 'cause...
Your swords, your grace.
There a problem with sword?
They've been bloodied in service of the throne. They deserve names.
Never really thought about it. Guess people take that shit seriously once you're queen, huh?
Very much so, your grace.
Yeah, that still weirds me out. Call me something else, will ya?
Whatever your grace wills.
Back in Armstrungard, you'll recall, Jen the cheerleader had just stabbed an officer of the law, a corrupt officer who used his status to molest children, but an officer nonetheless.
Jen? Galadin, help us!
Shit! What have you done?
We need to leave.
And flee the scene of a crime? That would be unlawful, not to mention dishonorable.
You want to just wait here for the fucking cops to show up? Come on, Jen, we gotta bail.
Now wait just a minute.
You've never lived in this city. No good can come from involving the city guard.
Honor is bigger than what's good for her, or you, or me.
Nia turned to Yllowyyn, rage fighting with fear behind her wide eyes. Nia stared the elf square in the eye and addressed him in perfect Elvish. Pardon me, I'll translate.
About honor, sibling woodsman, lecture me dare you not. My life to seeing honor done and order maintained have I pledged. To give her up to the city guard, naive or else cruel you must be. And for naiveness or cruelness to be cloaked behind honor, I cannot abide.
If priest you hope to be, faithful you must stay. Even when convenient, it is not.
Billy, unable to understand Elvish, had little patience for their incomprehensible argument.
Fuck this, man!
And with that, he was running down the street, all but dragging Jen by the wrist. Nelson was close behind. This next was back in the common tongue of men.
Honor your God-stand post and protect these children.
Nia turned and ran after the children, not waiting for a response. Yllowyyn hesitated a moment, but just a moment before following.
We should jump in that hay pile, like Assassin's Creed.
And then just wait for them to stop investigating?
Well, when you say it like that...
At Gwernatal Castle, Arlene and Gwendolyn lay close on the lady's bed. You'll recall that Gwen recently had something of a confrontation with Yllowyyn Regan, her first, which is of course one too many for genteel folk.
You must have been so frightened.
I only did as I had to, milady.
Would that I were as brave as you.
Come now, milady. You're the brave one.
What did you say to her?
She asked why I cared, why I was willing to risk my life. And I said, well, I said that...
As Ardel entered the room, the two women dove apart from each other.
You wench, Come.
If he noticed their improprietous closeness, he made no mention of it. In fact, Ardel Redmoor was smirking, a cruel twist at the corner of his mouth. Yllowyyn had seen that smirk before.
Where are you taking her?
The captain of the guard wants to debrief her about last night's horrid turn of events.
Brother, she was only searching the pantry when the bandit came through.
Though Ardel's next words were grave, his self-satisfied smirk continued.
I'm not sure you understand the enormity of what has transpired. The High King, on the eve of trial for treason, was slain by a highly skilled assassin in the employ of a lauded general, and with him perished the Gwenator line. This is a momentous atrocity. We must leave no stone unturned in our investigation.
Well, then I must insist on coming with her. She's not accustomed to talking to officers.
Oh, I'm afraid you can't. It could take some time, and you need to prepare for tonight's feast. I'll send my man to help you.
What feast?
Ardel's smirk broke into a wide grin as his sister's face went ashen.
House Mooncrest is coming to celebrate our joint victory over Felgia. Don't you want to look beautiful for your betrothed?
And so Gwen found herself in a dark room, deep in the heart of the castle. One might wonder, why would a simple discussion with a servant warrant a dark room with a sickly stench and a rotting table? The reason, as you might imagine, was simply Ardel Redmoor's whim.
What did the assassin say to you?
She said to get out of her way or she would kill me, my lord.
And how did you respond?
I said I couldn't allow her to leave, my lord.
Yes, I'm sure you summoned such bravery in the face of a mortal threat. Commoners are known for that.
She didn't leave straight away, did she?
If you address one more sentence to me that doesn't end in my lord, I'll have your tongue out. Do you understand?
Yes, my lord.
Now, what's this nonsense about her not leaving straight away?
Well, my lord, they announced His Majesty's death just before 10 bells, and I was in the pantry just after 7 bells, my lord. I brought enough food to the barracks to know the guard would have changed, my lord. If the assassin had slain His Majesty before I met her, they would have found his body sooner, my lord.
Gwen actually smiled at this, despite her current surroundings, pleased with her own cunning.
So, you are claiming that an assassin who had been hired to murder the High King was about to leave the keep without having completed her mission? She spoke to you, and only then decided to return to kill his late majesty? Am I correct? Is that your claim?
All I claim, my lord, was that His Majesty was still alive when I saw that woman in the kitchen.
And have you mentioned this opinion to anyone else?
Can't recall, my lord. My lady's been so troubled of late. Very distracting, isn't it? Fogs the memory, my lord.
If you are right, that would make things look quite bad for you, wouldn't it?
Looks worse for you if your regency is built on a lie.
The look on Ardel Redmoor's face brought to mind biting into a sour apple and finding a worm inside, and then learning the apple was covered in feces.
Let me make this abundantly clear, you peasant slut. You are admittedly more clever than I expected, so I'll spare you talk of unfortunate accidents. There is nothing I would hesitate to do to you. I will have you beaten, raped, dismembered. Anything.
Gwen did her best to remain composed. She managed fairly well.
Your self-sacrifice isn't brave. You don't value your life. As well you shouldn't. It's only bravery if something is at stake that you do value. And I'm sure by now you know what I'm willing and able to do to my whore of a sister.
At this, Gwen finally flinched. Ardel Redmoor did not fail to notice this. His sneer widened a fraction.
So, as far as you're concerned, Gunther's death and Brennen's and the assassins happened exactly as was said in my Lord Regent's record. And if I hear any rumors otherwise, regardless of who started them, It will come out of my sister's fetid flesh. Now throw her in the dungeon for a day or 3 to make sure she understands.
The fortress known as Blackhold is a stark, severe castle just to the east of the Black Mountains. No town or village surrounds the keep. Its black bricks rise sharply from the desolate, snow-covered plains. This morning, same as centuries prior, a single standard flew from Blackold's tower, a field of sable, no adornment. Within the keep, officers of the realm's civic guard studied a map of Jordan. At the head of the table sat the senior officer, a grizzled general by the name of Dylan Kerr. He manipulated tiny figurines of armsmen wearily.
I have no doubt Traft is coming here. Dawn at the latest.
Is he as savage as they say?
Of course he is. He's half orc.
General Kerr pondered a long moment, giving the flippant question a good deal of thought before answering.
I have come to believe that General Traft is the incarnation of all the sins visited on his people by the elves, and by us. And one day we shall have to pay for those sins. But we are sworn to hold this castle. So for the good of your honor, fight with the bravery of men condemned to die. But for the good of your souls, know that it's a fair sentence.
Brennen and Regan, Queen Regan that is, finally arrived at Armstrungard after a long night's march. The Queen promptly led them to the whorehouse, as is meet and proper. They rounded a final corner, only to find Madame Bailey's establishment swarmed by a veritable flock of heavily armed city guardsmen.
Fuck, no good.
Are the children all right?
Brennen, as we've established, had a habit of dealing with the authorities head-on, a habit of which Queen Regan disapproved philosophically. Thus, she had to grab the old general's cloak to prevent him from introducing himself to the nearest guard officer.
Wait, I don't know where the kids are. Looks like the place got raided. Somebody must have pissed off McShane.
So where are they?
Either they got out before the raid and they're holed up somewhere else, or they're at guard headquarters.
The day we met, the city guard...
I haven't set the place on fire, so don't worry about that. And if they nab them, I don't think they'll try anything funny on account of Yllowyyn. City guard always shit themselves when a fucking splint shows up.
Brennen tactfully ignored his queen's vulgarity.
What do we do, though, if they've been arrested?
Know what we used to call breaking somebody out of guard headquarters when I was a kid?
What's that?
A good Saturday morning.
Their deliberation was interrupted by the clang of an alarm bell. The pair looked towards the source of the noise to see a thick black column of smoke rising above the city skyline and into the morning air. Some mutual instinct had them both running towards the source in an instant. Some 15 minutes later, the Queen and the General found themselves in front of the charred remains of what was once a tavern. A line of locals hastily doused the smouldering timbers to prevent the fire's spread. The scene, in fact, was rather reminiscent of the erstwhile Bloody Rat Tavern and Grill on the morning after Brennen and Regan had first met.
That's the city guard I know and love. The Well-Groomed Lemming. College pub. Hate to say it, but there's a good chance Nia would have come here.
Brennen and Regan were surveying the scene of a recent fire in Armstrungard in search of their missing companions. A glint of light reflected from a pile of ashes. Brennen reached for the source and came up with a gilded arrowhead. One side was engraved with the Gwendolyn sigil, the other with the mark of the Elven High Council.
Yllowyyn. They did come this way.
Without warning, Brennen grabbed a random pedestrian by the cloak, nearly pulling her off her feet with his intensity.
What's happened here?
Lemming burnt down.
Gee, thanks, we can... Fucking God.
No, I don't know what happened. Wasn't guard, though.
Everyone get out?
Fucked if I know.
But what else can you tell us?
Look, I got my own shit to worry about. What do you think I am? A supporting player in your life story?
With a parting rude gesture, the woman disappeared back into the crowd.
They were here, then the place burned down. There's no coincidences in this city.
Perhaps the night went something like this. The tavern was filled with students discussing studently matters.
Right. Sure.
My studies are about how House Gwernital is the greatest and most righteous of the great houses, said one of the students, obviously trying to impress a young lady.
I agree, but tell me more.
That's when the Kilthier and the others entered.
I read a story like this.
Silence, you less of a man than I.
Oh, how clever you are, Billy.
Then, some student, deep in his cups, attempted to court young Jen. How is it that I've never before gazed upon your beauty?
I respect myself so little that minor insults require mortal combat. Have at you.
Billy lunges at the man, knocks some candles onto the sawdust on the floor, and there you have it.
No. I know this town. If some kid no one ever saw before got in a fight and burnt down the lemming, it'd be all these people could talk about.
Let's see if we can get closer.
The pair dug through the ashes for a few more minutes. They received some odd looks from the owners of the tavern, who could not understand why two strangers were searching the remnants of their livelihood, but they were kind, or frightened, enough not to mention it. After a moment, Regan identified a spot that appeared even more charred than the rest of the wreckage.
I'm guessing it started here.
You remember what this used to be?
Girls' room, I think. Here's what happened. Studently matters, right?
Book learning.
Oh, I'm so impressed. You want to Congress me? Is that how rich people say it? Congress me really hard against the wall out back. Then our gang comes in.
I read a story like this.
I like tits.
Whatever you say, sweetie, honey, sugar pie.
Why don't you go find seating while I visit the privy? I need to wash some library dust out of my criminally neglected fuckhole.
So she's in the girls' room when three stupid pieces of shit, you know the kind, think buying a knife's the same as knowing how to use it, kick down the door. Probably looking for me.
You've been seen with the Thief Queen. And because we're gutless, spineless bugs with extra tear ducts where our gonads should be, we're gonna beat up on a preacher and some kids to get to her.
So Nia gets out her staff, says some flame spell.
Need a light, boys?
I thought I was bad with words. Your Grace.
Best I could come up with. Whatever. Fuck you.
That account is possible, but there'd be some sign of a struggle in here. Probably outside as well if there was a window. Nia would have tried to lead them away from the children.
Shit.
Regan spotted a glint in the ashes. She bent down to retrieve the remains of Jen's compact mirror, obviously charred and melted.
She was probably just in to use the privy with Nia.
She would have tried to warn everyone.
Regan ran out into what was the main hall of the pub, literally following her road of thought.
Which means coming out here and trying to get out through the crowd.
Brennen followed.
If they were smart, they would have looked for an exit over...
With a sharp crack, Brennan's foot fell through a weak plank in the floor.
Whoa, you all right there? Thought that sound might have been your hip.
I've fallen out of better shape than your Grace will ever be in.
Brennan groaned as he struggled to lift himself up.
Quite the fall, huh?
As Regan helped the old general to his feet, it became apparent that weak plank which felled Brennan was actually the lid of a trap door, hidden beneath the ashes.
Nelson.
Regan improvised a torch from the rubble and hopped down. Brennan rubbed his bandaged arm for a moment and then followed. Earlier that day, before the fire, the well-groomed lemming was indeed populated by students of Armstrungard College. I regret to say that there was no congressing occurring on the premises, however. Nia, having frequented the pub herself as a student, had in fact led our party to the lemming's doors.
If we're not going to the rendezvous point...
You mean the city gates, also known as city guard barracks?
I was going to say there's the practical matter of how we'll find the general.
I just need a chance to think.
With exaggerated nonchalance, Yllowyyn removed a golden arrowhead from his pouch and dropped it in the dust outside the door as the group entered the lemming.
Let's hope he's learned something about tracking from his time with me.
Inside, the tavern's clientele were not in fact discussing studently matters, though they would have been on most other days. Today, however...
I don't know, I just heard someone killed a guardsman.
I bet there's someone here who can give us a side quest.
I think we got enough to deal with already, Knobstain.
But experience. And items.
Not knowing what else to do, the group sat down at the nearest table. They waited in silence until the barmaid came to serve them.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Brandy, for the love of Galadin.
Taken aback, the barmaid hurried off. The silence stretched interminably, until abruptly Jen leapt from her seat. So sudden was her movement that her chair was thrown back, startling the group as it clattered to the floor.
I gotta pee.
You want Nia to go with you?
Nope, I'm good.
Just as swiftly, Jen stalked away towards the privy. Billy and Nelson stared at each other for a moment. If either hoped to find an ounce of understanding of the girl's mind in the other's face, they were both sorely disappointed. Instead, they turned to Nia in unison. She withstood their silent pleading for only a moment before she rose from her own seat.
Blast it.
As she headed towards the privy, Nia passed the barmaid returning with the brandy and some glasses. Without breaking stride, Nia grabbed the bottle of liquor and took a large swig directly from the bottle. Jen stood at a water basin in the washroom. For a few moments, she simply stood and stared at her own hands. They were still coated with Sergeant McShane's blood. She considered her stained hands, front and back, before slowly lowering them into the water. She scrubbed slowly and methodically, as if in a trance.
I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything.
No one would deny that the world is better off without him.
Look, I know what you're trying to do, but don't, okay?
I said it before. There's no shame.
I'm not ready to talk about it. I need some time to myself.
Don't let it fester, Jen.
When Jen didn't respond, Nia turned back to return to the boys and the brandy. Jen continued to scrub her hands in solitude. After a moment, she withdrew her compact mirror from her handbag. After considering her own reflection, she placed the mirror onto the basin. Once more, she raised her hands in front of her face, focusing intensely. As she focused on her hands, there was a strange sensation in the room. To a mortal, it may have seemed like a hum or buzz, but seen, felt, and smelled rather than heard. Nearly imperceptible at first, it grew in strength, and as it did, Jen's hair rose from her head. With a sudden snap, a tiny spark flew between Jen's outstretched fingers, and then another and another in quick succession. Startled, the cheerleader stumbled backwards, knocking the wash basin onto the floor. As she fell, the humming and the sparks suddenly stopped, although not before one fell to the sawdust floor of the privy. The sawdust, ignited by the spark, went up in flames unbelievably quickly. Jen stood and, realizing there was no more water available, ran back towards the main room of the tavern.
Fire! Fire!
In the privy?
How is there a fire in the privy?
Who cares how?
Students were tearing and clawing at each other in a desperate attempt to reach the building's main entrance. Nia grabbed Jen by the wrist and started running in the opposite direction towards the storerooms in the back of the pub.
I know another way.
In the pantry, Nia shoved aside some sacks of potatoes to reveal a trap door in the floor. She swung the door open. Not yet having learned his lesson about jumping into strange holes, Billy was the first through the opening. Yllowyyn hesitated, however.
It's safe. Go.
Moments later, the entire party was crouched in a narrow tunnel some distance away from the well-groomed lemming. Rather, from the remains of the well-groomed lemming.
I think we're past the scope of the fire.
Okay, even I have to ask, why does the college bar need a secret passageway?
Armstrungard, as we now know it, is built atop the ruins of a much older city. An even more chaotic city, if you can believe that. Which reminds me, Jen, would you like to explain how the fire started?
No, thank you.
Nia tried to retort, but was cut off by Yllowyyn.
This can wait. Sound carries too far down here.
And with that, our party set off shuffling along the dank underbelly of Armstrungard. The elf dropped another golden arrowhead in the muck. Several hours later, Brennen and Regan emerged from the tunnels beside a canal. As they stepped into the sunlight, the old general stooped to grab Yllowyyn's 14th arrowhead.
And when I set it off and the vault walls blew, there's this kick of hot air right in the guts. Bam! Oh, Oh, got me wetter than flood season on the Abergoya.
Very good, Your Grace, but need your every story contain such intimate details?
I ain't been laid in like a month. Give me a break.
Their path led to an old, rusted gate. Regan vaulted the gate and opened it from the other side. As Brennen passed through, Regan looked around to get a sense of where in the city the tunnel released them.
Well, shit. This is right by Fallon's place.
Fallon?
Jackie Fallon. Guy I knew as a kid. He runs that inn over there. Lets students and shit stay there for dirt cheap.
Philanthropist?
Gods no. The more people come through here, the more he's got his finger on the pulse of the city. Information's better than gold if you know how to sell it.
My purse is a bit light since the castle.
Don't worry. My credit's pretty good with him.
Do me a favor and don't tell me how you earned it.
The trick with Fallon's to tell him just enough that he thinks he got something valuable. You throw a couple little clever lies in there, he can be pretty useful for throwing someone off your trail.
Jackie Fallon's inn was crowded, but on the whole much cleaner than you might have expected from Regan's recommendations. Jackie Fallon himself was working the bar when he spotted Regan as she entered.
Well, send me to celebrate and call me Sally.
Didn't know that was your thing, Jackie, but I'm game.
Jackie decided he could no longer ignore the old man who had entered with Regan and now stood beside her, looking woefully out of place.
Hey, fella.
Brennen was searching for the proper response when Regan stepped in to save him the trouble.
This here's my squire.
What squire? You ain't no fucking knight.
That's what they call whores in some places. He's a whore. My whore.
At this moment, Brennen may have preferred to have not been saved the trouble.
Go grab us a table, squire. I'm gonna catch up with the proprietor of this fine establishment.
As Brennen left to do his queen's bidding, Jackie pitched his voice slightly lower, so their conversation would not carry to any prying ears.
So, you like him halfway to the grave now?
I was just fucking with him. He's a mark. I'm supposed to be helping him find Galen's old crew. So, what's the word?
You mean other than McShane getting ganked?
What? You're shitting me.
Where the fuck you been? That's the talk of the town.
Clearly, or else you'd never tell me for free.
You know, I almost missed you. I'll throw you another freebie.
Any word on who did it?
Some girly nobody knows.
Regan knew of some girl nobody knows whose last whereabouts were coincidentally right where McShane was murdered. Regan did not believe in coincidences in Armstrungard. She did well to hide her surprise, however.
Probably one of his kids grew up and learned how to use a knife.
I got another juicy little morsel about the whole thing.
That's so?
I'd be willing to part with it if you tell me why you give a fuck.
As it happens, I ain't given a fuck in far too long, but I'd sure like to.
Jackie Fallon matched Regan's rather transparent grin with a somewhat regretful smile.
Sorry, kid. I'd like to help you out.
But?
Ain't hurt.
Jackie lifted a hand up from the bar to show Regan a pewter wedding band around his finger.
No fucking shit! What poor soul actually has to stick around with you the morning after?
You remember Angie?
Remember? I knew her before you did. Quite the catch though, Jackie. Nicely done.
Well, I thank you. But I'm afraid it's gonna have to be coin or tell me something I don't know.
As it happened, Regan was short on coin at the moment. She scrambled for a convenient lie to tell, but was saved the trouble by the arrival of Jackie's bride. Angie Fallon looked haggard from a long shift waiting tables in the tavern, but her face brightened at the sight of Regan.
Is that who I think it is?
In the flesh.
Feels like forever. You all catching up?
Suddenly a thought occurred to Regan as to how she might better facilitate the flow of information. Her smile widened imperceptibly.
Yeah, we were just talking about you.
Leaving some things unsaid, I hope. A married woman's still allowed a few secrets.
Is his husband?
Tactfully left unsaid by either was... how shall I put... Oh, fine. Regan had bedded both of them at one point or another, but neither knew this about the other.
Well, I ain't ever been married, but sharing a secret can really tighten the bonds between people, don't you think?
Guess that would depend on the secret.
Well, to have that effect, I suppose it'd have to be really quite intimate. The kind of secret you're really scared of the other one finding out, but you still stay up late thinking about it some nights.
In case you're the sententious type, I'll spare you the details of the next 74 minutes. Though I suspect Regan herself would be quite happy to tell the tale in graphic detail.
What, you're not gonna tell the details?
No, mortal, this is my story.
Okay, so we started with something called the Thirsty Rabbit.
Suffice it to say, it was a much calmer Regan, at least by her standards, who rose from a small upstairs bed and quickly jumped back into her clothes. Mr. and Mrs. Fallon, on the other hand, were far too exhausted even to move, their faces blissful mirrors of contentment.
So, who popped the sore on the world that was Jamie Goddamn McShane?
I don't know. But I do know there's a knight looking for her too.
Regan raised a single eyebrow.
Green falcon on a white field.
With a wink and a small bow, Regan left the couple alone. As she retreated down the hallway, she was followed by sounds coming from the room she just left. Apparently, Jackie and Angie had found another well of energy. Regan returned to the public room of the inn and found Brennen. The old general looked less than pleased at having been left to himself in this place. His skin also had taken on a clammy, ashen pallor.
Bad news. Don't look at me like that. Killed a lot of birds with that stone. Well, stones. Pretty nice ones, too, far as they go. You want to smell my fingers?
Brennen chose not to respond. He took another small sip of ale and wiped at his brow, which was sweating more than one might have expected given the temperature in the bar.
You don't look so good, Grandpa.
Probably something I ate in this pit.
Oh, shit. How's your arm feeling?
It's fine.
Let me see.
It can wait until the children are safe, Your Grace.
So, yeah, about that. I found out what happened at Bailey's. Remember that piece of shit I told you about? McShane? Somebody stabbed him.
Damn it. Billy? Maybe Nelson, but I doubt it. Damn it!
Word going around said it was a girl. Matched Jen's description.
No. That strains belief.
Doesn't mean she did it, just means everyone thinks she did.
It would be madness for them to split up. But that means the greater part of the city guard will be looking for them all.
Not just God. Do you know anyone who flies a green falcon on a white field?
As ill as Brennen had already looked, he managed to turn a shade more pale at the mention of this standard.
That's Sir Jasper Frieshelm, Ardel Redmoor's executioner, and the only man to ever best me in single combat.
Brennen and Regan had just deduced that a dangerous knight by the name of Jasper Frieshelm, executioner for Ardel Redmoor, was in pursuit of the remainder of our party. They had also just deduced that Jen was suspected of murdering an officer of the law, that someone in their party had burned down a tavern, and that Angie Fallon and her husband were amenable to allowing a third sexual partner into their marriage. Well, that last point was deduced mostly by Regan. In the mud outside Fallon's inn, Brennen had found 7 sets of horse prints in perfect formation. This last detail being very unusual for Armstrungard, Brennen and Regan followed the tracks at a jog, hoping they would lead to Sir Frieshelm.
God, it didn't help us. How did that come to this?
Billy probably started some shit with McShane. Not that there weren't a million good reasons to off that motherfucker, but I'm sure Billy found a stupid one.
I know you fuck kids and all, but what really gets me is what you said about me, or my mom, or Jen's ass. I don't know. Why am I doing this? I'm having a really hard time understanding the motivations of someone I have no respect for.
I'd counsel you to try harder, Your Grace. We'll never find the truth that way.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyways, fuck you, and fuck your stupid face.
And fine, Billy's probably good for one decent dummy punch, so the fucker falls and happens to grab at a table as he goes. A knife happened to be sitting on the table, he knocks it over, nicks his throat, and the town rumor mill turns it into a stabbing. Then Jen comes in and sees.
Billy? Oh no, this is terrible, but I'll stand by you because I only like myself when boys like me.
Of course, that's exactly when the city guard shows up.
Halt! In the name of the council and people of Armstrungard.
Someone I'm obsessed with protecting actually needs my protection for once. I'm getting out of here.
So he fucks off to Yellowhold, and Jen's there, standing over a bloody corpse, with a thumb up her ass.
Possible. Or, suppose the death happened exactly as you said, but then Jen said to Billy,
Give me the knife and flee by... Galadin's Grace. I am having some difficulty capturing young Jen's manner of speaking.
You get a feel for it with practice. Like choking a man. Which reminds me, you want to know something about Fallon?
As I was saying, flee, Billy. I'll take the blame. They'll be more lenient with a girl.
Gods, I hope she's not that stupid.
They ran along horse tracks in the mud for still a while longer, but unsurprisingly gained little ground.
Stop, we gotta stop.
We must not lag, Your Grace.
Brennan, we're not gonna outrun horses. We gotta try and figure out where they're going, get there before they do. It's the only way to get out in front of this freeze-arm guy.
You do not understand how tough this man is. He'll be relentless.
Yeah, but the kids will need the rest at some point. I just hope the elf and the preacher are brilliant.
Needless to say, that was not the descriptor Brennan was expecting. He stopped his run suddenly.
What is it?
You see that rocky hill over there? About 3 miles that way?
Aye.
There's a monastery up top. The way up's a bitch. Damn near impossible for horses.
As an acolyte, Nia may have been allowed lodging there.
And I know a back door. This way.
Some hours earlier, Nia had indeed led Yllowyyn and the children through the tunnels to the very same inn, owned by Regan's friend Jackie Fallon. Yllowyyn surveyed the establishment skeptically.
And this place is?
Not currently on fire or surrounded by city guard.
Can we get some food here? I'm fucking starving.
Food is a charitable description, but they usually have a few things available which resemble mattresses.
The group procured food and then rooms for a brief rest. At her first opportunity, Jen pulled Billy into one of the rooms, pushed him onto a straw bed, and began kissing him aggressively. She scratched at his armor, searching for the latch that would release his codpiece.
Jen, are you okay?
Come on, I feel good.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Billy had a difficult time refusing amorous attention, so he accepted this answer briefly. But the situation became too abnormal even for Billy, and so he managed to push Jen away long enough to speak.
Really?
What is your deal?
I don't know. Everything that's happened since we've been here?
Are you gonna fuck me or what?
Taken somewhat aback by Jen's direct language, Billy pushed the girl off of him and stood up.
I don't like you like this, Jenny.
Like what?
I don't know. You're not yourself.
What does that mean? What is myself like?
You're freaking me out, okay?
I thought you wanted to be a man.
Confusion, fear, and hurt battled for dominance on Billy's face. He stared uncomprehendingly at his girlfriend before storming out of the room, punching the wall on his way and slamming the door behind him. Nia happened to be heading up the stairs just in time to observe Billy's exodus. With some trepidation, she knocked on the door that the boy had just slammed.
Jen, are you decent?
Leave me alone.
Nia entered the room regardless.
I said, leave me alone.
This needs to stop.
You barely talked to the guys when they... in the cave? Why do I have to get cross-examined?
You know well enough that theirs was an accident. And this isn't an examination. It's an offer of guidance.
Well, I don't want guidance.
Down in the common room, Yllowyyn and Nelson still sat at the bar. Nelson was, with extreme effort, aligning the prongs of his fork with the tip of his knife. Yllowyyn was engaged in some argument with Fallon.
Do you mean to tell me you can't prepare a simple honeyed milk with rose water?
Watch yourself, or you wind up on your splintery ass outside.
Billy stormed down the stairs and sat down heavily next to the elf.
Beer me, dude. Women, right?
My marriage is pretty great, actually. Gotta be real honest with each other. That's odd, but it's worth it.
Are your women as much of a pain in the ass as ours?
No. But then we don't refer to them as ours. It's like I was saying to my servant.
Would you like to tell me what happened at the Lemming?
Not really, no.
Unhealed spiritual wounds are even more noxious than physical ones.
Who says I'm wounded?
I'm a woman of letters. I'm not...
What the fuck do you know about wounds? I bet you still believe in unbalanced humors and that oslip bullshit, don't you? Yeah, well, I'm sick and tired of pretending I don't know things I goddamn fucking jolly well do.
Firstly, you should confirm to whom you're speaking, because I doubt this tantrum is meant for me. And secondly, the theory of oslets is
incomplete. You don't have protons, neutrons, electrons, anything. That's why you can't do lightning spells, not because they're blasphemous. It's because you need electrons to discharge static electricity.
Jen suddenly clamped her hand over her mouth.
Oh.
Nia recoiled as if physically struck.
Galadin, help us, Jen. Is that how the fire started? Did you try to do a lightning spell?
Okay, it was like 80% an accident.
Back in the tavern, an empty space had widened around Yllowyyn.
So have you heard the one
I think that's enough human jokes for one night, Weenie.
Yeah, there's something I don't like about the way you say Memyet.
The elf's idea of jokes were mercifully cut off when Nia stormed down the stairs, dragging a clearly unwilling Jen by the wrist.
We need to leave this place.
What? Why?
I'm not going anywhere until I get some sausage down my throat. Let me rephrase that.
This is a city of spiritual sickness, and I won't abide it poisoning the children. Kaltir, pay our bill.
The group left Fallon's Inn quickly and quietly, heading towards the mountain and its monastery. Their departure was none too soon, as just an hour later, a heavily armored knight rode up to the inn. He was followed by 6 squires carrying his standard, a green falcon on a white field. Meanwhile, at Castle Gwernethal, Ardel and Yllowyyn Redmoor were dining with their guest of honor, Antonin of House Mooncrest. Antonin, you will recall, was the chosen match for Yllowyyn in marriage. The Mooncrest contingent had just arrived to the castle, and this meal served as the first introduction of Antonin to Yllowyyn. Yllowyyn Redmoor had not spoken a single word since the arrival of the Mooncrest family. Throughout dinner, she did more moving around of food than actual eating. Antonin Mooncrest had been genially chatting with Ardel and the other guests at the table, but could not help but notice his bride-to-be's discomfort.
Are you not well, my lady? Or perhaps you are not accustomed to eating with quick sticks?
No, it's nothing.
Sister, we are eating Lord Mooncrest's favorite dish. You do him insult.
Also at the table were Antonin's father, Marcus, and uncle, Julius. The former was the official head of House Mooncrest, and had 50 years, but sadly was afflicted such that his mind was in many ways still a child's. The latter was of an age with his brother, and assisted Antonin in the actual running of affairs.
You must forgive my sister's atrocious manners, my lord.
To be terribly honest, Lord Redmoor, after a week on the fields of battle, I'm much more concerned with enjoying my betrothal feast than I am with the finer points of etiquette.
Ardel Redmoor was shocked and disappointed that anyone would decline an opportunity to harass his sister.
Well, I suppose there will be a time for discipline later.
If you forgive me for saying, my lord, she likely needs fresh air more than discipline. She must have been in her chambers all day preparing, and on the last day of autumn, no less. What do you say, my lady?
That would be lovely, my lord.
There. You see? Why don't we all go riding before dessert?
Politics is an interesting game. Such a simple offer, and yet both the Redmoor siblings could not help but hastily calculate outcomes, weigh risks and rewards, and seek unseen implications. Yllowyyn dared not answer without knowing her brother's intentions. Ardel himself was cautious, hoping to avoid a situation that might shift beyond the reach of his manipulation, but eventually resolved to speak first.
My sister is so terribly skittish. I don't let her near horses, lest the poor stupid things get scared and someone gets hurt.
Then we shall take my mare, Sunbeam. The damn nag is too lazy to bother getting scared.
I'm sure, but I'm afraid I must...
it will be a splendid way for my betrothed and me to become better acquainted. With a chaperone, of course.
Ardel could not find a reasonable excuse to deny Mooncrest, despite his every effort.
If you insist, my lord.
Yllowyyn smiled for the first time all evening, perceiving that, although the terms of the battle were unclear, somehow her brother had lost anyway. Suddenly, however, the corners of Ardel's mouth twitched upwards.
If I may recommend a chaperone,
but of course.
I cannot speak highly enough of the character of my cousin Ricard.
Arlene's smile died suddenly.
You remember your cousin Ricard, don't you, sister? You two got along so well at our Yllowyyn feast.
The main path from the Lord's Way up to the monastery on the mountain was narrow, windy, and treacherous. Regan and Brennen were not taking the main path. Instead, they climbed up a back route. Route might be a generous descriptor for what they climbed. It may be more accurate to say mountain. They climbed the mountain.
Dunna tell me how you know this way. I'd rather quietly deceive myself into thinking my queen has never robbed a monastery.
Whatever helps you sleep. Try not to think too hard about priests wearing gold while other people starve.
This is a monastery, not a temple. What of value did they keep here?
Went a goat that happened to be passing by. Yeah, sometimes the spirits of nature have a poignant sense of irony.
God didn't forgive me.
Thunder rumbled ominously in the background.
Come on, we gotta be off this path before that storm gets here.
And before Frieshelm gets up the other side.
The same thunder peal shook the inside of the monastery. In an upper floor dormitory, Billy, Nelson, and Nia slept soundly. Yllowyyn sat guard, polishing his knives. A fifth bed was empty. Jen had been unable to sleep, and instead found a bell tower where she could look out over the plains. The storm matched her own brooding. Near the front gate, an elderly monk heard footsteps on the path, and had gone to the door to welcome any more travelers out of the weather. As the door opened, Frieshelm drove his sword through the monk's chest. He then turned to his men.
Remember, we want the elf alive. Everyone else killed on sight.
The Redmoor and Mooncrest post-dinner horse ride was a tense affair. The soon-to-be-married couple rode some distance ahead, out of earshot but within sight of the others. Ardel Redmoor watched the couple suspiciously, trying to decipher Antonin's motivation for this ride. With him rode his cousin Ricard Redmoor, who was accompanied by his favorite hunting dog.
I hope you do not think me too mannerless, my lady.
Arlene Redmoor shared a beautiful white mare with Antonin, the man she had just met, who was to be her husband.
I only found you exceptionally gracious, so long as my behavior did not offend you.
She could imagine she felt the eyes of her brother and cousin boring into her back.
Not in the least. Understand, it's not that I don't value etiquette, but if you'll excuse my frankness, I've come to believe that some rules are more important than others.
I've never considered that point of view, my lord.
Have you ever been on the banks of the Aberwire, my lady?
I haven't. I look forward to it, though, when we are wed.
For a mile or so, on either side of the river, there is a verdant oasis. But as you travel further north, the reeds get terribly dry. If lightning strikes or feral men make camp and are not careful, the resulting fire could quickly grow out of control and envelop the oasis as well. That would ruin my family and doom our people to starvation, as I'm sure you understand.
Perish the thought.
Indeed. Do you know what we do to prevent such calamity?
I don't, my lord.
Twice a year, we send out men with torches and water to burn off the driest patches, but stop the fire from spreading any further.
Fascinating.
So, sometimes you must destroy a little on the periphery to save what truly matters most. Do you see what I mean?
I think so, my lord.
When it comes to laws and customs, of course, we do honor to Galladin by obeying them, but when we must choose between breaking a rule here or there, or allowing widespread chaos to run amok, surely Galladin would favor the former.
There's wisdom in that, my lord.
Good. So I pray you'll forgive me for this next part.
Had you been close enough to observe, you would have seen Antonin Mooncrest lift a small wooden whistle to his lips. The sound it made was inaudible to the human ear, but it was rather painful to the hound. Ardel, of course, was not close enough to observe and could not hear the sound. From his vantage, the dog's sudden fit of barking and running was quite without provocation. The barking startled the white mare, who reared upon her hind legs like a statue before bolting ahead. Antonin sat the terrified horse as calmly as if she were walking in a park. Arlene clung to her betrothed for dear life. By the time Ardel and Ricard had caught up, Arlene was on the ground next to a large oak tree. Antonin leapt off his horse to offer a hand to Arlene, but she rolled away from him and tried to run.
My lady!
What in Galadon's name is happening?
Antonin Mooncrest knelt in contrition before Ardel.
Lords Redmoor, you have my most abject apology. I thought I knew my horse well, but you knew the lady better. I beg your forgiveness, my lord. If the lady is injured in any way, my house will repay yours tenfold.
Go help the poor thing, cousin.
Ricard dismounted and made the briefest eye contact with Mooncrest.
All I will say, Lord Mooncrest, is that your lord uncle would never have been so foolhardy.
I deserve much harsher words.
Cousin Ricard offered a hand to Arlene. Rather than accepting it, she skittered on her hands and knees away from her cousin's touch.
And this should go without saying, but on behalf of my house, I forfeit the right to request blood proof of Maid Redmoor's maidenhood.
The silence was deafening. The entire forest stilled at the shock of these words. Arlene scarce dared to breathe.
What?
Ardel's face grew more and more red, impossibly red. A vein in his neck bulged. Antonin Mooncrest continued to kneel and continued to speak calmly as if he were discussing the weather.
It's entirely plausible that the maiden knot was broken in this dreadful accident. It happens to many ladies who take an early interest in equitation.
Are you sure you understand what you're saying, my lord?
You saw how the beast took off. Didn't you, my lord Ricard?
At this, Ricard Redmoor finally managed to make eye contact with Arlene. He made a slight bow, merely a dip of his head towards his cousin, as he said quietly, "Indeed."
There you have it.
The vein in Ardel's neck looked fit to burst.
You are most gracious, my lord.
Nia dreamed of the great lecture hall atop the tower of Armstrungard. The hall was crowded, and the great Bar Lokir was delivering a lecture. In the manner of dreams, the subject of the talk slipped beyond the mind. A handsome student across the hall smiled at Nia. She flushed and smiled, disproportionate to the small gesture. Her joy was interrupted, however. Suddenly, Bar Lokir screeched, a haunting, unearthly sound. Bar's skin split and peeled, and from within the elf's body burst the most terrifying beast Nia could possibly imagine. The demon screeched again. Nia stood to flee, but none of the other students in the room appeared to notice Bar's transformation. As Nia gazed around in horror, she noticed that the girl in the seat next to her was too young to be an Armstrungard student. She also had a gaping wound in the center of her chest.
There are 7 things you must know to save me. The 5th thing is, the blind man has seen the face of God.
The dream demon sprung towards Nia, leaping the many intervening rows of the lecture hall in a single bound.
Jen may be ready to talk.
Nia awoke in the monastery dormitory with a start. She looked towards the empty cot, which should have contained Jen, in confusion. Yllowyyn, still awake and on guard, noticed her confusion.
Bell tower.
And you let her go in her current state?
Nia indeed found Jen in the bell tower, surveying the storm.
Jen? I owe you an apology.
The anger had fled from Jen's eyes. Still, she did not turn or speak.
Since undertaking this quest, which I was admittedly not fully prepared for, I have... well, suffice it to say, my faith has become somewhat more complex. I unfairly expected you and the boys to restore some of the simplicity of youth, and then lashed out when you were human.
You know what I've been feeling since this morning?
I can't imagine.
Powerful.
Jen turned and looked Nia directly in the eyes.
I swung my arm and made him go away, and now he can't hurt anyone else. That felt so good, thinking I could make all the bad men go away, and then no one else would have to go through that. I didn't want to think about it because I knew once I thought about it. Oh my God. I killed somebody. Oh God.
Jen fell sobbing into Nia's shoulder as the acolyte wrapped the girl in a comforting embrace. Their moment, however, was interrupted by a splintering crash from below. Frieshelm and his squires had broken through the monastery's barred door. Yllowyyn's arrows felled 3 squires in the blink of an eye, but the other 3 used their fallen companions as a shield to get close enough to tackle the elf. At that range, his bow was useless, and without enough time to draw a knife, he was quickly restrained by the 3 large men. Billy and Nelson, to their credit and the credit of Brennen's training, were awake and armored in moments. They stood bravely, shoulder to shoulder, brandishing their swords at Frieshelm in a posture they only prayed was correct. The knight only laughed, and with a quick flick of his own blade, disarmed both of the boys. Their swords skittered down the hallway and out of reach. A single ursine swing of Frieshelm's gauntleted hand knocked both of the boys on their backs. The man casually lifted his own blade to strike Billy down. Jen and Nia emerged from the stairwell just in time to see Frieshelm's sword poised over Billy's throat.
No!
Heedless of her own safety, Jen ran at the man, swinging her own sword wildly. Her strikes bounced off of Frieshelm's armor harmlessly. With his left hand, Frieshelm grabbed the girl by the throat and lifted her clear off the ground.
Jen!
Nia pointed her staff at him in preparation for a spell, but a flippant stroke from the sword in his right hand shattered the wood effortlessly. Jen's eyes bulged as the large man throttled her. He shook, and her eyes rolled wildly as she kicked and struggled. Suddenly she stopped kicking. Her eyelids fell closed. Sir Frieshelm laughed cruelly. As he laughed, a sort of hum filled the room. Almost imperceptible at first, the sensation was more felt than heard, and it slowly grew stronger. The hairs on Jen's head stood on end. For just a heartbeat, the room went still, and then the figure of Frieshelm exploded in sparks. His armor shone from the light of it, and girl and man were thrown apart, each heavily hitting the walls at opposite ends of the room. Yllowyyn took advantage of the momentary shock to throw the 3 squires off of him. The terrified men fled to the door of the room, only to run headlong into Regan and Brennen, who had just arrived. The Queen's twin swords flashed and her general's axe gleamed, and then the squires were dead. Sir Frieshelm himself lay stunned against a back wall. Wordlessly, Brennen kicked off his helm and decapitated him with a great swing of his axe. Billy was the first to recover from the shock of the battle. He rushed to Jen's side.
Jen!
Is she all right?
That sucked.
The print of a hand was clearly burned into her flesh, red ghosts of fingers grasping her neck. She slumped against Billy's chest, unable to move further.
You're okay, babe. We got him.
I'll make you some ice.
The acolyte reached for her staff, before remembering it lay in ruins on the floor. Instead, she gingerly placed her own hands upon the girl's neck and began muttering some words.
Nice of you guys to join us, by the way.
Way to kill a cop while you're supposed to be lying low. Which of you fucking wizards thought that was a good idea?
Jen raised a weak hand before letting it drop.
Glad you've kept your sense of humor, but really, I'm curious.
Nia only nodded. When Regan looked towards the elf for confirmation, he nodded too.
No shit. Well, fuck me, I had you wrong, girlie. I owe you a drink. And you just magicked the shit out of Falcon Boy there.
Yeah, what did you do, honey?
That was fucking awesome.
She attempted an enchantment way beyond her ability and injured herself in the process, which is exactly what I warned her about. Thank you for not listening.
I just wish I could have seen the look on McShane's son of a bitch face. Your timing leaves something to be desired, though.
Indeed. General, While out in the taverns, I heard some troubling whispers about the kingdom.
Some are true, I'm afraid. His Majesty is slain, and Ardel Redmoor has usurped the high throne.
What? Yllowyyn, you heard talk of this and didn't tell us?
You know how common men gossip. There was no sense worrying you all until we knew for sure.
Well, now you know. Oh, and also that means I'm queen, apparently.
Your Grace.
Nearly dropping Jen, Nia knelt low to the ground. At a slight gesture towards the boys, they eventually followed suit.
The Knights of the Wood will not abide such wanton chaos.
Regan lifted an eyebrow at the elf. With a sigh, he lowered his head, the minimum required by etiquette.
Your Grace.
Would you say this merits petitioning the High Council directly, Kaltir?
I never thought I'd see such a thing in my life, but I'm afraid it does.
If you would be so gracious as to broker our passage into the White Forest.
Yeah, of course. Though I would caution you all not to mention the less lawful moments of the last few days in the presence of elves.
We can't go anywhere till the storm dies down.
Luckily, neither can anyone get up here. Let's take the chance to get some rest.
Yllowyyn looked around, as if noticing for the first time that the room was full of corpses.
We should deal with these. Before the rats come.
I'll deal with Sir Frieshelm. Kaltir, gather up the rest.
I'll help you, Brennen.
Brennen and Regan struggled to carry the large corpse through the gale winds and driving rain. As they tossed the body over a cliff, Brennen spoke.
Was an attorney. He was Redmoor's champion and I was your grandfather's. The victor got to hold the vanquished hostage for the champion's purse. When I lost, the Lord Treasurer didn't think a peasant was worth the money. Gunther humiliated himself to get me released. Don't think I've ever forgiven myself. Next time I rode into a real battle was an oak raid near Blackhold. I led 500 light infantry into 4 times as many pike.
Even I heard about that. Didn't know it was you, though.
Our foes broke rank. Everyone said my boldness won the day. I ran in thinking we'd surely die. What was the point?
Guilt's a privilege of the living. Frieshelm's dead.
Aye, but he lived and died a knight.
Let's get inside.
As the two returned from outside, Yllowyyn was searching the squires' bodies for anything useful, while Billy, Nelson, and Nia tended to Jen.
I'm gonna need somebody to walk me through this.
Through what?
I'm Knight in Brennen.
Your Grace?
A queen can do that, right?
If Her Majesty wills it.
Neil, General Brennen of Greyfield.
Brennen could not keep the grin from widening across his face as he knelt in front of his queen. He waited expectantly, and waited, and waited.
Okay, that's all I got.
Yllowyyn rolled his eyes, but took the Kaltir post behind Queen Regan's right shoulder.
Say I, then state your full name and titles.
I, Irana Margaret Regan, Thief Queen of Armstrungard.
Your real titles.
What are my real titles?
Champion of the civilized peoples and High Queen of the human realms of Jordan.
Shit, look at me. I, Irana Margaret Regan, Champion of the civilized peoples and High Queen of the human realms of Jordan.
Do call upon me.
I call upon me.
No, you call upon me.
Do call upon you, General Brennen of Greyfield.
To serve me as a knight.
To serve as a knight.
Now ask, would you be knighted?
Would you be knighted?
I would, Your Grace.
Can I just appoint the preacher lady to say the rest of the words for me?
You may.
Is that gonna make this count any less for you, General?
No, Your Grace.
Brennan's smile still split his face. Regan gestured to Nia, who could not suppress her own smile.
Would you bring honor to your liege in all you do, and obey her every order? May Galladon help you?
I would.
And would your grace never give your knight a command which would bring disorder or disgrace?
How are we defining disorder and disgrace? Fine. I would not. I'll do all the fun stuff myself.
Now you dub him.
Is that the sword part?
Yes.
Regan drew her blade and touched the flat steel gently to Brennan's left shoulder.
Do you have a family name, General?
My father was called Willem.
I dub you Sir Brennen Williamson.
The steel touched his right shoulder.
Arise, Sir Brennen.
This is like Man of La Mancha, except Brendan's not a total fuck-up.
Man of the what?
It's a musical, Billy. They did it at school last year. I was gonna be in it.
Jen, rest your voice. Billy, Nelson, would you please help her into bed? I'll see to her in a few minutes.
Billy lifted the girl and carried her towards the beds. Nelson followed. Once Nia was sure the children were out of earshot, she turned to Brennen and Regan.
Jen's throat will swell. I can ice it, but I can only do so much without my staff. She needs a real physician.
And Brennan needs his arm taken care of.
I told you it's fine.
That's my arm, and I'm gonna need it.
There will be elven medicine that can help when we get to the White Forest.
If we don't get there soon, it may be too late for Jen.
But we are dead for sure if we try to get down this storm.
We must be ready to depart as soon as the storm clears. Kaltir, take the first watch.
As they dispersed to prepare for the evening, Regan held her knight back for a moment.
Sir Brennan.
Your Grace?
Maggie and Katie. Good sword names.
For additional information and bonus content, access onceandfuturenerd.com on your computer machine. New episodes are released every other Sunday. The Once and Future Nerd is written and created by Zach Glass and Christian Madera, and directed and edited by Christian Madera. It is performed by Rhiannon Angel, Garrett Armin, Dan Dobransky, Lily Drexler, Hayes Dunlop, Anya Gibeon, Ian Harkins, Paul Notice, Frank Querez, and Julie Reed. It is co-executive produced by Jess Kelly.
Alex Story is an associate producer. The Once and Future Nerd is recorded by Brian Forbes at the Gallery Recording Studio in Brooklyn, New York, with second unit production sound by Gary O'Keefe. Foley, sound design, and post-production mixing is done by Sandra Ramirez.
Theme music is composed by Tom Lee.
Thanks for downloading.